Oh,
Come on, guys, let's get to practice.
Clayton Little Dog is 17 years old. He recently led his team in winning the regional basketball championship for the first time in his school's history. Clayton has always been a leader. He'll be the first boy in his family to attend college, having been chosen to receive a full-ride basketball scholarship. Clayton recently told one of his coaches that he'd like to find a way to make all the pressures in his life go away, forever.
Happy birthday to you.
John Highhawk is celebrating his 60th birthday. Surrounded by his tioshpae and takojas, his extended family and grandchildren, this seems to be one of the happiest days of his life. But last week, John mentioned to his daughter that since he lost Lois, his wife of 41 years, his whole world feels very empty. More and more, he feels he's becoming a burden to his family. Carol Yellowbird has appeared to live what most people believe is the good life. Despite her history of abuse as a child and the loss of 2 loved ones through suicide, she has built a respected career in the Indian Health Service as a nurse. In fact, Carol is in line for a promotion, something she has been working toward for months. Unfortunately, Carol will be arrested today for drunk driving and leaving the scene of an accident. Her addiction to alcohol was suspected by colleagues and supervisors before. This incident will not only confirm their suspicions, but may cost Carol her job as well. In the next 3 months, Clayton, John, and Carol will make the same decision that scores of other Native Americans from every region of the country make every day. They will attempt suicide. Is someone you know thinking about suicide? Do you know the warning signs? Do you know what to do? A suicide crisis can be survived. People who become suicidal usually only remain so for a few days, or perhaps a few weeks. During this time, a person considering suicide needs help, help you can give. Talking about suicide is uncomfortable for most of us. We are afraid that we might push a friend or a relative over the edge. Our uncertainty makes us want to turn away, leaving the sufferer feeling more alone than ever. Most people who consider ending their life send warning signs that they are in trouble. In just 1 hour, you can learn to recognize the warning signs and how to offer support. The training is called QPR, and everyone should learn to use it. In the same way that thousands of Americans are saved each year by CPR, QPR training will provide you with the skills to put an end to the tragedy of suicide in Indian country. QPR was created by Dr. Paul Quinnett, psychologist and author of Suicide, the Forever Decision.
QPR is designed to teach people, regardless of their background, how to make a positive difference in the life of someone they know. Like CPR, learning what to do at the time it needs to be done can save lives, and that's what QPR is about. We know that most people who take their own lives are suffering from some acute stress situation or in a major relationship conflict, or are suffering from a quite treatable brain disorder. Substance abuse, drug and alcohol addiction greatly increase the risk for suicide. Suicide is our last taboo. We've talked about cancer, we've talked about sex, now we've talked about incest and domestic violence. And it's my hope that if we can talk about suicide as comfortably as these other subjects, we can really start to save lives.
Our son Brad was 16 years old. He turned 16 years old September 20th. And December 18th, 2001, he took his own life. Brad had a girlfriend. Her name was Annie, and she was 14. And she took her life November 24th, 2001. Brad, his heart was broken.
That night, we all were sitting around the couch, and of course our kids were old, and a little older, and we asked them, what did they want for Christmas, and they were naming off things, and then Brad says, well, what I want wouldn't fit underneath the Christmas tree, so.
As a mother, I thought he was doing well. He didn't talk about, you know, harming himself, but of course I didn't ask because then I didn't know about suicide education.
We didn't, you know, I didn't expect it. We didn't expect it. It was like just a shock, you know.
Well, since Brad's death, we've learned that several of his relatives and close friends have told their aunt or uncle or mother, father, and they in turn told us back that Brad did make comments about, you know, dying. It's hard. It's hard living without one of your children.
So my healing is when I'm out in the pasture, his grave's right there. So when I go by, I just stop and talk to him. And
I lost my husband Willie to an illness last year, and I didn't think I could go on without him. I was taking medication for my high blood pressure, and I just quit taking it because I didn't want to live any longer without him. Then my sister encouraged me to go and see the doctor, and with the doctor's help, he asked me a bunch of questions and to deal with my depression, and I am so grateful that he was there for me.
This problem and this challenge of young people taking their lives, there are many reasons. There are many, many reasons, and there have to be many, many answers and solutions. And those lie, of course, in the community. The communities where the issues are occurring, where the lives are being lost, as well as an understanding of what communities can do and probably shouldn't do as well, those that aren't experiencing the situation. There are many programs, there are many ways of approaching this. QPR is one that is very helpful.
The concept of repetitive training, such as CPR training or QPR training, can allow you to react instinctively to help the patient. Physicians need that reinforcement just as office personnel or other people who deal with patients need that kind of reinforcement. We don't do things by instinct or guessing. You have to have an organized approach to a problem, and QPR makes sense.
I feel like I'm part of a system that's been trained in QPR. Parents will call me up and say, Jeff is not transitioning into the school year very well. I'm noticing a lot of stress. The football coach will stop by and says something's off with Jeff. He's just not performing up to his potential. And then a couple friends will stop by and say, we're really concerned about Jeff. Put those pieces together and that formed a tight safety net where you know the application of QPR. I'll just bring Jeff in my office and ask him, are you thinking of killing yourself? Most often they'll say yes. If I don't ask them, they won't tell me. Once they come out with it, we can deal with it, tighten the safety net, and that alone can save a life.
To save a life from suicide, we all need a little knowledge, some courage, and permission to talk about suicide openly. QPR provides all of this and sends a message of hope. Ask a question, save a life. It's something we can all learn to do.